art fans, how you doing? Hey Roy, good to see you again, as always. Now, sci-fi and fantasy becoming more and more mainstream, good or bad? Bloody good question. Let's have a look at what's going on in the world of TV. Now, I don't watch TV pretty much at all, but the series that I do watch, I follow religiously. I generally tend to stream it on Justvapes, so that I can watch it back to back without bloody adverts. So let's first off, let's take a quick look at the modern era of science fiction and fantasy and the seeming mishmash of the two. So clearly things like Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Supernatural, all very good series in their own rights for their fans. Personally, I'm not a fan of any of them. I was never keen on Supernatural just because it seemed a bit sort of too Buffy-esque, but serious Buffy, if you get me. I think I know what I'm on about. It was just a rehash, I suppose, of Buffy. And you got The Walking Dead, which I did watch a few episodes and I did try to get into it, and I'm not sort of keen on that zombie apocalypse sort of idea. I never have been, really. A lot of people think, yeah, brilliant, but I thought it was kind of weird. And then what's the other thing I said? Game of Thrones. I watched one episode and was completely and utterly bored. I really do not see the attraction in it. Then we go back to things that I grew up on, such as Star Trek, original series, TNG, DS9 and Voyager, and even Enterprise. I thoroughly enjoyed them, but it was riffing on a theme from my childhood. Now let's crack back to the present. What else do we have? We have, like I said, Lost. That was another sort of fantasy, science fiction-y type affair. I never got into Lost. I really didn't understand the attraction of Lost, but of course it had its cult following. So let's analyse this a little bit now. When we were younger, things such as Star Trek and fantasy films and all that sort of business, Lord of the Rings, it was a niche market. You know, you had the sci-fi fans, you were either a Trekkie or a Wars fan. Very rarely the two intertwined. There was actually some quite fierce rivalries arising from people who were in Star Trek and Star Wars. You know, myself, I'm a Trekkie, died in a war Trekkie. I love Star Trek, absolutely adore TNG and DS9. You know, and if Star Trek is on or any of the films are on, I will sit and I will watch them and I will enjoy them. But then I'm a 35-year-old man. Well, I will be 35 this year. So that sort of harkens back to my youth. Now we've got this particular generation, and you've got the generation in between us, the 90s, where we had the likes of Buffy, Angel, obviously the X-Files. Now I remember the X-Files. I was quite a fan of the X-Files, and I remember everybody going batshit over the theme tune when it came out on CD. People would just go mental for it. It took me 2 weeks to find a copy on CD. Yes, CDs, silvery discs. Yeah, just have music on them then. And so of course then you had the likes of, like I said, Buffy and Angel, and people went nuts for that as well. I've got to admit, I was a bit of a fan of Buffy and Angel, and I even liked Charmed as well. You know, think of me what you will, but I did. Then of course along that era you had the likes of Stargate, the series. I absolutely love Stargate. Now the film came on over Easter and I was like, we're recording that, I'm watching that at my leisure hour. And of course that was the Kurt Russell film. So now I'm on the lookout for the series again, and I really enjoyed the Stargate series. But then again, that was that particular generation of science fiction, and in the case of Buffy and especially Charmed, fantasy. Now I didn't really watch it for all hot chicks except for Alison Hannigan, because dang, she was fit. And I think that's when the cool geek became mainstream for me. Now with modern televised products and films, I got to admit I'm not overly fussed. I do like the new Star Wars reboot, J.J. Abrams reboots, the new one, and the previous one, Star Trek and Into Darkness. I think Benedict Cumberbatch was a wicked, amazing cast, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. And I'm enjoying this sort of dual timeline thing with the two Spocks, Leonard Nimoy and of course the new fella, whose name escapes me. And that's just a wicked mishmash of today's attitudes, likings and enjoyment of science fiction and fantasy, mashing with the old, you know. And I'm wondering just how long Leonard Nimoy can carry it on, really. I mean, he's getting old. If we do a quick IMDb on Leonard Nimoy, and I will continue talking as I do it. You know, I should imagine he's got to be in his 70s at least. And the guy has, you know, continuously worked throughout his old age as well. I mean, obviously look at things like Transformers, the original animated film. He was Galvatron. And, you know, he's made guest appearances in all Star Trek series as far as I know, except for possibly Voyager. Now, I've never actually watched Voyager to completion. Or Enterprise, actually, for that matter. But I will find out one day, and I'm sure no doubt Ryan will correct me. So, alright, here we go. IMDb, search. Leonard. I don't want there we go, Leonard Nimoy. Leonard Nimoy. One of my favourite actors, incidentally. He's 83. Bloody hell. God, he's an old man now. And still acting. Fair play to the fella. So, I think, has it really ever been not a mainstream form of art? Or media, I suppose. I mean, of course, back in the 60s and 70s, Star Trek the original series, and the 80s with things like Battlestar Galactica, V the series, again another favourite of mine, with Robert Englund in it specifically. Robert Englund, if you know your horrors, there's of course Freddy Krueger and Nightmare on Elm Street. There you go, fact fans. And in V, he played a really ditzy vegetarian alien called Willy. Good series, you should go watch it. Which of course that also had a modern remake. Now I did watch that and I did enjoy it actually, I did quite enjoy it, and I loved the cameo of Diana. I was like, oh my god, it's Diana! It would have been nice to see Michael Ironside as well appear, because he was in the original video series, but still, anyway. So perhaps it's just a generational thing. We remember our generation of sci-fi and fantasy more because we enjoyed it more. Now, mine is like me, doesn't watch a lot of TV. We're far too busy doing our YouTubes and our Facebooks and our Twitters and generally being internet idiots. So, you know, and of course he works, so I've got a new baby, so we do very rarely find time to actually sit down and watch these things. But then when I did sit down and watch these things, I wasn't overly keen on them. I personally think today's fantasy and science fiction, well, fantasy for the most part, because obviously we have Twilight. I want to find the original writer of Twilight and go, no! Sparkly fucking mouth, even the werewolves are gay. I mean, no disrespect to gay people, but seriously man, that was goddamn awful! And I think the pinnacle of mainstream science fiction and fantasy was the late 90s and early 2000s. Simply because that was when my favourite series and episodes and films had come out. Today's science fiction films I do like. I am a science fiction fan. And of course the Lord of the Rings trilogy, Hobbit trilogy, oh my god, you should see me and Mr. Taylor. RY1 when the new Hobbit comes out, we are literally, when he was like, oh, Hobbit, Hobbit. We do that. We actually do that. When we got our copy of The Desolation of Smaug, it was literally, we were texting each other all day going, no, it's done. And when we were sat in the cinema watching the original, the first Hobbit, this one, Unexpected Journey, God, we were literally stood in the queue, just going, come on, and then we saw all the bits, and then the Misty Mountains come on, and we're just like, and we just got horrifically excited. So it's not that we hate modern science fiction or fantasy, it's just a case of we like the modern versions of the stuff that we like from our youth. Now, here's an interesting question for you. Alright, you may think a little bit less of me for being a Buffy and Angel fan, but what do you think a modern remake would be of today? How would it go? I mean, obviously Buffy in its way was quite violent and addressed some pretty serious issues like homosexuality coming out. In the case of, what was I saying again? Willow. And of course her other half, his name escapes me. Of course she was shot. The misuse of power, and strictly in that particular case with Willow, drug abuse or substance abuse. She became heavily addicted to using magic. And it was just like drugs. I mean, I've seen people using drugs to that sort of level, and they did actually look like that. So, you know, it was a good simulacrum and a good analogy for, you know, drug addiction. And of course, you know, various other things like the resurrection of Buffy. I mean, you know, and the musical, Buffy the Musical. Once More with Feeling, the episode was called. Always remember that one line from it where you got some dudes swinging out with a shirt, they got the mustard of. I thought that was brilliant. You know, and of course at the end of it, she says that she was happy in heaven. She was in heaven and she was happy. And then of course it all goes back to it. You know. And again you've got Angel, which it seemed a bit more sexier and a little bit more adult, but it was young adult. Of course, the good old lady Charisma Carpenter. Oh yeah, me like it, Charisma. I absolutely adore Charisma Carpenter, especially when she did Playboy. That was great. So, you know, it became a bit sexier. She, you know, she had like demonic powers, and she actually became demonically. What's the word I'm looking for? Augmented. Because obviously her visions were going to end up killing her. So of course she took the choice of becoming half demon, I suppose, to sort of cope with it a bit better. And ironically that became shortly after she had her boob job. And I remember the scene quite clearly. She's like, it's floating up in the air. What is it? Something like there's titties out like that, you know, big, noticeably bigger boobies. And the thing is, they got cut back and they noticed that she was floating off the floor, and that was how she coped with it. She was like, yeah, I'm having a vision, I'm floating in the air and I've got big tits. I completely waffled there. I am very, very sorry. So yeah, what do you think that a modern remake of those things would be? I mean, you've got the Vita series that's been remade, we've got the original Star Trek, which is being remade in a film franchise. What else have we got? Battlestar Galactica's been remade. There's a modern version of that now. And you've got, well, I wouldn't say it's been remade, but of course a modern continuation of Stargate. So how would you think like a remake of the X-Files would be now? That's my question for you tomorrow. How do you think remakes of our favourites as children, excluding the ones that have been remade, so obviously Star Trek, the series, Battlestar Galactica, in a way Stargate, and that sort of thing, things like Buffy, Angel, X-Files, and all that sort of stuff, how would you think they would be made today using today's methods and storylines? So there you go. But yes, for me, mainstream science fiction and fantasy, I've got to give it a thumbs up, because a lot of the work that's coming out these days is quite good quality of the stuff that I do like. And of course the other things is that I don't have to feel a bit guilty when I go in and buy something like a Gotrek and Felix book or a D&D manual or a games sort of rule book or something. I can actually sort of be proud that I'm walking off with my Warhammer rule book or my Werewolf the Apocalypse rule book and my D&D rule book. You know, I am actually now considered, by and large, for being a geek, as a bit chic. You know, I don't have to feel judged anymore. I mean, at school I was bullied until I threw somebody on for offence, but at school I was bullied because I would, rather than go and play football with the lads, I'd be sat reading Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, things like that, David Eddings, and things, you know, the Sparhawk series and stuff like that. You know, people would be taking a mick at me for reading that, or Terry Pratchett for that example, and all the other boys would be like, yeah, let's go play football. I just wasn't interested. So now I feel accepted. You know, people are like, oh yeah, he's into it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Because it gives them a bit more of a acceptable sort of step into it. But anyway, again, I've digressed, and we're pushing on to 15 minutes now. I've been the Fury, and of course, look in the description below. You will see a link for the Dodo box from EFEI. It's going to be an actual donation link. It will take you straight to the page. Go along. £2.50 is all they ask for £2,000. And as of last night, they were nearly halfway. So let's keep it up. We need those million signatures to keep vaping the way it is. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and of course if you want to be a guest ARPer, or as I've started calling them, a part-time ARPer or a PARPer, leave a comment below, contact me or Ryan, and we will arrange something. Peace.